Chief reporter Luke Trainer has filed this article taken from The Echo, last Friday's March the 8th edition. And it starts off, the parents of Madeleine McCann have said they chose not to participate in a Netflix documentary about the disappearance of the daughter. According to reports, the streaming giant is expected to air a programme about the 3-year-old's disappearance later this month. Madeleine, whose mum comes from Allerton, was 3 when she was last seen while on holiday with her parents, Jerry and Kate, in Praia de Luz, Portugal in May 2007. In a statement, her parents said, "We are aware that Netflix are planning to screen a documentary in March 2019 about Madeleine's disappearance. The production company told us that they were making the documentary and asked us to participate. We did not see, and still do not see, how this programme will help the search for Madeleine, and particularly given there is an active police investigation, it could potentially hinder it. Consequently, our views and preferences are not reflected in the programme. We will not be making any further statements or giving interviews regarding this programme. Mr. and Mrs. McCann have always pledged to never give up the search for the daughter." Scotland Yard launched its own investigation, Operations Grange, into the disappearance in 2013 after a Portuguese inquiry failed to make any headway in the search. In November last year, a further £150,000 was granted to the investigation to allow it to continue until March the 31st. Force bosses have been applying for funding from the Home Office every 6 months to continue the inquiry, which has cost about £11.75 million so far.
Theatre's assistant manager accused of stealing £270,000. An assistant manager at the Epstein Theatre is accused of stealing more than £270,000 from his employers. Kelvin Lloyd is alleged to have taken £273,109 from the theatre at Hanover House in Hanover Street, Liverpool city centre. The 27-year-old faces a charge of theft by employee and is said to have stolen the money between April the 1st, 2016 and December the 5th, 2017. He also faces an allegation of acquiring, using or possessing criminal property relating to the same sum of money and the same dates. Lloyd, of Shotton, Flintshire, North Wales, appeared in the dock at Liverpool Magistrates Court. He spoke only to confirm his personal details and to state he would be giving no indication of plea at this stage. Natalie Cassidy, prosecuting, said, "The Crown say this matter is not suitable for summary trial and ask it is sent to the Crown Court." Philip Lieb, defending Loyal, who had short brown hair, earrings in both ears and wearing a grey suit, said he had no representations to make. Magistrates committed the case to Liverpool Crown Court, where they say Lloyd will next appear on the 9th of April, but remanded him on unconditional bail. According to his LinkedIn profile, Lloyd joined the theatre in March 2015 as a venue technician before becoming assistant manager in June 2016. A lighting specialist, former technical theatre student at West Cheshire College, previously worked in the theatre in the Quarter in Chester. The Epstein Theatre, built in 1913, was originally called Crane's Music Hall and then Crane's Theatre, before it was renamed the Neptune Theatre in the 1960s. After surviving the threat of closure, the 385-capacity venue reopened in May 2012, following a £1.2 million refurbishment programme. Then it was renamed the Epstein Theatre in honour of Brian Epstein, the former manager of the Beatles.
Next article headed, "Care Home Put Residents and Staff's Lives at Risk from Fire." A Liverpool care home was fined thousands for putting vulnerable residents and staff at risk. Stapley Care Home on North Mossley Hill Road has been ordered to pay a total of more than £11,000 for breaking a string of fire safety regulations. The home, which is run by a charitable trust, must pay a £6,000 fine plus costs after pleading guilty at Liverpool Magistrates Court to 5 breaches of the Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order 2005 after the premises were inspected on April the 2nd last year. During the inspection, a number of significant breaches were found. It was felt the seriousness of these breaches put the lives of staff and residents, some vulnerable, at significant risk, compelling the Mersey Fire and Rescue Authority to prosecute. The inspection found that the care home had failed to maintain adequate fire separation in the cupboard ceilings, corridor walls, ground floor storeroom and basement, or provide appropriate fire detectors and alarms. Inspectors also recorded that the home had failed to remove combustible materials from a means of escape or provide an adequate fire door with appropriate safety strips and seals. It was also discovered that those in charge had failed to ensure that the premises were subject to a suitable system of maintenance, in efficient working order and good state of repair. Senior Fire Protection Officer Brian Massey said, "This is a care home with approximately 70 residents, some suffering dementia and needing significant support." From 2011 onwards, several inspections of the premises have been conducted, and it's clear Stapley Care Home were aware of their duties under the Fire Safety Order. An authorised inspector visited the premises on April the 26th to evaluate the fire safety provided. MFRA was of the opinion that they'd failed to comply with a number of provisions set out in the Regulatory Reform Order, leaving people in the building at significant risk. Mr. Massey said a fire could have spread very quickly, as there were insufficient means of raising the alarm, insufficient means of preventing spread of smoke and fire, and insufficient procedures in place for effective evacuation of the elderly residents, some of whom would require significant help. District Judge Shaw acknowledged the severity of the offences and noted there was a risk of harm, including death, and a large number of vulnerable people were exposed to the risk. However, due to concerns about a very large fine having a detrimental impact on service users, the fine was set at £6,000.
Now we have a story of an unhappy ending to a holiday after a couple returned from the Canary Islands. A retired couple were left stranded at the airport after their meet and greet service lost the keys. Bob Hagan and his wife Susan from the Wirral booked the service, but on their return from their holiday in Lanzarote, they were left high and dry at Manchester Airport for several hours. Frantic phone calls were made to the mobile phone number used by the third-party firm, Manchester Airport Parking Services, but were left unanswered. 3 hours passed before a taxi was eventually dispatched to ferry the exhausted couple back to their home in Hoylake. Their car, a VW Jetta, was eventually returned to them, but only after Mr. Hagan had handed over his replacement key. Bob, aged 76, said, "We were messed around from the word go. On our return from holiday, I phoned the number given for the meet and greet service repeatedly, but nobody picked up on the call, which left us stranded. We were stuck there for almost 2 hours phoning the same number repeatedly. When I did get through, they eventually told me that they could not return our car as the keys had been lost. Finally, they sent what they called a trusted driver, who turned out to be a randomly chosen taxi driver, to pick us up. We left Manchester Airport more than 3 hours after we landed. He dropped us off and we reluctantly handed over the spare key, and he took it back to the airport. Our own car wasn't returned till the following evening, and I was told a locksmith would shortly be sending me a key to replace the one which was lost. But we have heard nothing from them. Since I am stuck with the uncertainty that my car may not be there each morning. When Manchester Airport Parking Services was contacted by the Echo, a man who identified himself as a driver said the complaint should be forwarded by email, but have not otherwise responded.
It's about the problems of red squirrels. And the Trust is urged, don't kill off the greys to try to save the red squirrels. A wildlife conservation group has come under attack from people accusing it of planning to trap and kill grey squirrels. The Lancashire Wildlife Trust held a meeting in Southport to discuss what can be done to protect the rare red squirrels that live on the Sefton coast. Some people in the area say it is publishing propaganda against grey squirrels and wants to kill them all. Julie Ross, who regularly visits nearby reserves where the protected red squirrels live, said, "People need to know about this. It's not acceptable. It's not the grey squirrels' fault that humans decided to bring them here many years ago. Why do we think we have the right to decide who should live and who should die? We need to educate people on the truth about grey and red squirrels. What actually causes reds to decline is destroying their home. We have built whole towns on their forest, Formby and Ainsdale and so on, and then we blame grey squirrels for depleting their numbers. Our humans are responsible for destroying their habitat, making it harder for them to breed, and that is what needs to be addressed. The Lancashire Wildlife Trust needs to spend more time and money making red squirrel habitats safer and more accessible for them to move around and breed, and not taking a cruel option of killing other wildlife."
This is an article about a boy aged 10 with an eating disorder. At least one boy under 10 was among hundreds of people admitted to hospitals in Merseyside last year with eating disorders. Figures from the NHS have revealed that the child was among some 531 people of all ages in our region to be hospitalised with an eating disorder in 2017-18. The true number may be even higher, as some figures have been suppressed by the NHS to protect patient confidentiality. At least 4 children aged 10 to 12, at least 2 boys and 2 girls, were also admitted, as were 33 children aged 13 to 15, at least 2 boys and 31 girls, and 41 young people aged 16 to 18, all girls. Tom Madders, Campaigns Director at Young Minds, said it's concerning that so many young people are being hospitalised with eating disorders, and it's vital that they get the help they need. The factors behind eating disorders are often complex, but early intervention must be a priority so that children get help when problems first emerge before their conditions escalate. While a shocking number of very young people were being treated in hospital for these disorders, many older people in our region were also affected. At least 5 people aged 61 to 80 were hospitalised in Merseyside with an eating disorder last year, including at least 2 men and 3 women, as was at least 1 woman over the age of 81. Nationally, the number of very young children admitted to hospital with an eating disorder has been rising year on year, possibly due to rising awareness or bed availability. Across England, 129 children under 10 were hospitalised last year, up from 96 in 2016-17, and the highest figure since at least 2010-11. The other 3 categories up to age 18 also showed the highest figures on recent record.
This week, Merseyside has had a battering of bad weather, and here's a story about how bad it's been. Strong blustery winds combined with hailstones to bring grim weather conditions to the Merseyside region. In Allerton, a clear-up operation was required in Woolton Road after a tree was blown down in the high winds, and people raced for cover as hailstones came raining down in short but fierce bursts several times during the afternoon. Drivers also faced treacherous road conditions, with one car apparently skidding off the M62 between junction 5 and 6 in Huyton yesterday afternoon. It is not thought that anyone was injured. Bizarrely, the extreme weather conditions alternated with bursts of bright sunshine.
About Knowsley Council, who have been forced to deny that a nuclear power station, sewage plant or prison is coming to Kirby. The council said in a Facebook post that there was absolutely no plans for Kirby to host one of the controversial facilities after numerous online articles led many residents to question the council about the claims. It comes as people, though, wait for construction to start on shops and cinema and restaurant in the town centre. The council's post reads, "We are aware of some very creative but completely fake news articles being shared about prisons, sewage farms or even nuclear plants being forced onto Kirby. These are entirely untrue. We also know that residents are keen for genuine updates and information about timescales for the development, and we completely understand that." Developer St Modwen, which bought the town centre from Tesco's in 2015, recently said preparations to start building work in Kirby were advanced, but a start date for construction has still not yet been set, despite planners giving the go-ahead in November 2017. The regeneration effort would see a swathe on the town centre built on, with the new shops and cinema forming part of the plans. But the council admitted in its latest update that it has limited power to force St Modwen to start work because it has ownership on the land. The council will put as much pressure as we can on St Modwen to make a start, but the fact is that the town centre shops and the new scheme in Kirby belong to St Modwen, and the council is unable to force St Modwen to start the scheme. Last month, Cabinet member for the Regeneration Tony Brennan said the area's councillors had met with St Modwen to air their concerns about the fact that things seem to have gone very quiet. The council said that the public sector, led by the council, the NHS and Mersey Travel, had spent millions investing in Kirby to improve the town. It's now time for the private sector to follow suit. We continue to support St Modwen and Morrison's and are hoping that there will be more detailed announcements on progress very soon.
Small item of TV news called Ice Delight. Ballroom dancer and TV personality James Jordan and his partner Alexandra have won the final of Dancing on Ice 2019. James won after skating the Bolero dance made famous by two of the judges, former Olympic champions and figure skating legends Jane Torville and Christopher Dean, who also performed a routine to the song Bridge Over Troubled Water.
That concludes this week's reading of a selection of local news from the Liverpool Echo. We thank them for permission to record their material, the Royal Mail for deliveries and fellow volunteers working for the LTN. When you have finished listening to the USB stick, place it in the address card in the yellow post wallet and return it to us. There is no postage to pay. Talking newspapers are covered by the Articles for the Blind free post concession. If you wish to contact us by phone, the office staff are only in the office on Thursday and Friday mornings between 9:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. Otherwise, please leave a message on the answer phone. Our telephone number is 0151 486 1400. Alternatively, you may email june.porter9@guidemail.co.uk. As most of you seem to prefer putting messages in the wallet, you may continue to do so. So on behalf of everyone at the LTN, goodbye.